Hey everybody, and welcome back. Today we're taking a deep dive into something really fascinating.
Yeah.
It's all about this idea of resonance and how it connects to spirituality and personal growth.
Okay.
We've got this transcript of a talk that just really got me thinking about how we can live more fulfilling lives,
Sure.
And it gets pretty deep.
Okay.
The speaker suggests that we can actually tap into something called soul resonance, and that our creativity can connect us to something much bigger than ourselves.
Wow. That's
Pretty wild, right?
Yeah.
So I thought we could unpack these ideas together and see what we can take away from it.
I'm excited to dig in.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So one of the things that really struck me about this transcript is how the speaker emphasizes emotional resonance.
Right.
It's not just about understanding something intellectually.
Yeah.
It's about really feeling it deep down.
Absolutely. And I think that's something we can all relate to.
Totally. Like, have you ever had that experience where you hear an idea or read something and it just clicks with you on such a deep level?
Definitely. And the speaker calls that emotional resonance, which they say is way more powerful than simply understanding something intellectually.
It's like that aha moment, but on an emotional level.
Right. It's about connecting with something on a deeper, more personal level. And the source material actually argues that this is where real change and growth begins.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just read a self-help book or listen to a podcast.
Right.
We need to let those ideas really sink in and affect us on an emotional level.
It's about embodiment, actually living those ideas.
Yes. Now, another thing the speaker talks about is intuition,
Oh.
which I'll admit I used to be a bit skeptical about. But they share this story about a time they followed their gut feeling, even when it seemed completely illogical,
Okay.
and it led to this amazing outcome.
Oh, wow.
Has anything like that ever happened to you?
It has, actually.
Yeah.
And the speaker's experience reminded me of a time when I went against conventional wisdom in my own work,
Really?
purely based on a gut feeling, and it turned out to be the right decision.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and the speaker suggests that these aren't just flukes or lucky guesses. They're actually our intuition guiding us, which is a really interesting concept.
So it's not just some mystical power.
Right, exactly. It's presented as a skill that we can develop and get better at over time.
So how do we do that? How do we get better at tapping into our intuition?
Well, the source material talks a lot about paying attention to those subtle feelings and nudges that we often ignore.
Okay.
It's about creating space for stillness and reflection in our lives.
Right, giving ourselves the time and space to actually listen to that inner voice.
Precisely, and quieting all that mental chatter that often drowns it out.
I love that. Okay, now get ready for this.
Okay.
The speaker actually connects creativity to higher states of consciousness.
Oh, wow.
They suggest that when we're in that creative flow, we're tapping into something much bigger than ourselves.
That's fascinating.
It's a powerful concept, right?
It really is. And what I find really interesting is that this idea isn't tied to any one specific religious belief.
Right. It's more universal than that.
Exactly. It's like those moments when you're brainstorming, writing, painting.
Yes.
Or even just problem solving, and you get that sudden flash of insight.
There's aha moments.
Yeah, exactly. It's like accessing this wellspring of knowledge and insight that's beyond our everyday awareness.
And that seems to connect with the idea of soul resonance, which, to be honest, sounds a bit abstract to me.
It does sound a little out there.
What does it actually mean to achieve that kind of resonance?
Well, think of it this way. Soul resonance is about aligning your actions and your choices with your deepest values and passions.
Okay.
It's about asking yourself what truly makes me feel alive, and then having the courage to shape your life around those answers.
So it's less about chasing external markers of success.
Right.
And more about pursuing what genuinely fulfills you.
Exactly. And this leads us to another key point that the speaker brings up, surrender. Yeah. I know it might sound a bit passive.
Especially in our culture where we're always told to hustle and strive for more.
Exactly. We have this ingrained need to control everything and push harder. But I think what the speaker means by surrender is more about letting go of that need to micromanage every little outcome.
It's about trusting that things will unfold as they should.
Exactly. Even if it's not exactly according to our plan.
Okay, that's a really interesting way to think of it.
Yeah. And think about those times when you were stressed and trying to force something to happen.
Oh, yeah.
And it just created more resistance. What if instead of resisting, you surrendered to the situation and just allowed things to unfold more naturally?
It's a powerful idea.
Okay.
Now for the really mind-blowing part.
Okay.
The heart-brain connection.
Mm-hmm.
The speaker talks about this as being key to accessing higher states of consciousness.
Right.
It seems like such a fascinating blend of science and spirituality.
It really is. And it's amazing how research is now showing that the heart actually sends signals to the brain
What?
that affect our emotions, our perceptions, and even our intuition.
So we're not just thinking with our heads, our hearts are involved too.
Exactly. And the speaker highlights practices like mindful breathing or focusing on gratitude as ways to actually enhance this heart-brain coherence.
So we can train our hearts and brains to work better together.
It seems so. And what I find really cool is how the speaker ties all of this to synchronicities.
Yes. Those meaningful coincidences
Right.
that seem to happen when we're on the right track. I remember once I was considering a major career change.
Okay.
And I had this string of synchronicities that it felt like the universe was giving me a green light.
It's like those synchronicities are signposts or little nudges from the universe pointing us in the right direction.
Exactly. And the speaker suggests that the more we cultivate that heart-brain coherence, the more attuned we become to these signs.
It's like we're opening ourselves up to receiving those messages.
Wow, we covered a lot today.
We did. It's quite a journey from emotional resonance and intuition
To creativity and soul resonance.
surrender, heart-brain coherence, synchronicities. It's a lot to take in.
It is, but I think what's so remarkable is how the source material ties all these seemingly separate concepts together.
I agree.
They all point toward this deeper truth that we have the potential to live incredibly meaningful lives.
It's inspiring, isn't it?
It really is, but it takes effort.
Definitely.
We need to tap into our inner wisdom, trust our intuition, and learn to resonate with our truest selves.
It's a lifelong journey, but so worth it.
Absolutely. So as you go about your day, I want you to think about this.
Okay.
If you could design a life perfectly aligned with your deepest self, what would it look like?
That's a good question.
What would make your soul sing?
Take some time to ponder that.
Yes, and pay attention to those moments of resonance in your own life.
Notice what sparks joy and fulfillment, what makes you feel truly alive.
Those answers might just hold the key to unlocking your most authentic self.
That's a beautiful thought.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. It's been a real pleasure exploring these ideas with you.
Likewise. Until next time, keep seeking, keep growing, and keep resonating.
See you then.